Welcome to my channel. My name is Ria, and in this video I'm going to go over the astrology for the new moon happening in the sign of Virgo on 27th August 2022. Now for this video I'm going to go over the collective energies, and then I will mention real quick where this moon might be for your particular sun and rising sign. And this video will be broken down with timestamps, so you can click on whichever part you want to watch and go directly to that. I would recommend watching the collective energies to know what this moon's energy is, and then I would recommend watching your rising sign and then sun sign. If you don't know your rising sign, that's perfectly fine. You can always watch your sun sign. Alternatively, there are many calculators on the internet, so if you know your time of birth, date of birth, and place of birth, you can always plug in those numbers and that will give you your rising sign. So I'm going to start with the new moon energies, but before that I want to mention real quick that if you've been watching me regularly, I am making a few changes to this channel. I will be posting new moon videos and full moon videos, and I will update you guys on what the changes are in the coming few weeks. So I just thought I'd put a heads up, and now let's get into the new moon energies. So you can see a new moon is when the sun and the moon conjunct, right? That's a new moon, and this is happening at 4 degrees of Virgo. You can see this on the chart, and new moons bring in new energy, right? They bring in new energy for the next lunar month, and we work on that energy for the next lunar month, for the next 28 days or so. So essentially a new moon is a seeding point of an energy, right? New energy comes in, it seeds itself. We might be unclear as to what that energy is, but it's seeding itself. And that's why it is said that setting intentions on a new moon is beneficial, because energy is coming and seeding itself. So essentially you're setting in those intentions with that new energy, right? So that's what a new moon is, and this one's happening in the sign of Virgo. Virgo is right here. You can see this, and Virgo is the sign that is ruled by Mercury, and it is associated with our day-to-day, right? Everything that is the mundane, our routine, our diet, our exercise, our job, our health, all these things fall under Virgo. So it's got this energy which is about organizing and getting planned, right? Because when it comes to our routine or diet or job, we need to plan, right? We need to get organized. So it's an energy that is great at organizing things, great at planning things, great at the little things, great at details, right? So generally speaking, this new moon can touch upon themes of getting organized in our lives, right? Touch upon themes of planning, touch upon themes of getting to the mundane tasks, right? Tasks we might have been putting off, things like cleaning or, organizing your cupboard, that sort of thing. Virgo is also to do with our health. So our health can come to the limelight with the new moon in Virgo, and it's also habits, right? It's what we eat, it's what time we sleep, it's how we live our day-to-day, right? All that is Virgo. So we can give special attention to these things. Perhaps it's a habit that you want to change, a habit that you want to adopt, or it could be a dietary change as well, or a change to your exercise routine, Virgo, right? All these things fall under Virgo. Or, if you're in a job, it could impact that area of your life as well. Maybe changes there, maybe new energy coming into that area, because Virgo is literally anything that we do daily, right? Cleaning, eating, exercise, job, health habits, that's Virgo. It's also the mundane, cleaning, that sort of thing. And with this new energy, it's a time to get organized in our lives, right? It's a time to kind of analyze critically what's working, what's not working. And I will get into that a little bit more when we speak about why I just mentioned this. So that's Virgo. Broadly speaking, these themes will be touched upon, but what's more important with a new moon is where it is falling in your particular chart, right? And I will mention where it might be according to your sun and rising sign towards the latter half of the video. But the best thing would be to look at your chart, see which house it falls in, and whichever house it falls in, those themes will be what will be impacted by this new moon, right? So now I'm going to talk about the aspects this moon is making, and that will kind of give us an idea of what this moon's energy is like, right? So this moon is making one extremely important aspect, and it's a square to Mars, 90-degree angle to Mars, right? And I will clean it out a little bit, and then I will show you Mars. So that's Mars, right? It's at 4 degrees of Gemini, and Mars is associated with our energy, right? It's the planet that's associated with taking action and making things happen and going after what you want, right? All these things fall under Mars. Mars is in charge of them, right? It's in charge of your energy. It's in charge of your drive. It's in charge of how you take action, yeah, right? How you go about getting things you want. So that's Mars, and this is a 90-degree angle, a challenging aspect, right? And what squares represent in astrology is challenge, right? It's a challenge to change. It's this point of pressure and friction which forces us to grow. It forces us to evolve. It forces us to change how we are doing something. And this new energy is squaring Mars, right? So what we might need to change, what we might need to really work on is how we are doing things in our lives, right? How we are moving forward, right? How we are going after something that we want. Do we need to change up how we are approaching this? Do we need to change up the steps to get there, right? And since it's a square, right, a challenging aspect, it's not going to feel very comfortable, right? Usually with a square, what happens is it's like this friction, it's this pressure point, and after that pressure is so intense, we finally say, okay, no more, I need to change. So that's how it works. So it might be, that we reach a point where we say, this is not working, right? This is not working. I've been trying this. I've been doing this with all my heart, with all my energy, and something's not right, right? Perhaps I need to change up how I'm approaching this thing in my life, right? Maybe I need to do it a little bit differently. So it's an energy like that. And Mars, like I said, is the go-getter, right? It wants something, it goes and gets it. So we have that go-getting energy on this new moon if we are willing to step out of our comfort zone, right? If we are willing to change, if we are willing to challenge ourselves to adopt a new way of doing things, there's a lot of energy that we can use to go after what we want and set up something that we've been maybe wanting. So that's that. However, with every energy, there is a positive manifestation and a negative manifestation, right? The negative manifestation of Mars is anger, frustration, aggression, right? Because Mars is the warrior, it's the soldier, it's the athlete, right? It wants to go and go and go and get what it wants. And when that doesn't happen, Mars gets frustrated, Mars gets angry, Mars feels like things are not working, right? So if we don't change, right, this, and if we don't embrace the positive manifestation, which is changing how we do things, then this can manifest as anger. It can manifest as frustration. It can manifest as this aggression even, right? So we want to be mindful of these things, and that's the flip side. And sometimes what happens is we feel frustrated, we feel angry, we feel whatever it is we feel, like things are not working and all that sort of stuff. And then what happens is then we say, okay, you know what, this is not working, it's frustrating me, maybe I need to change. So that can also happen, right? A combination of both these things, because it's a challenging aspect, it's a square. And Mars right now, if you look at the chart, right, Mars is in Gemini. So let's talk about Gemini a little bit. This is Gemini, right? Mars is in Gemini, and Mars has been in Gemini for the past 7 days or so, since 20th of August. And wherever Mars goes, right, it energizes that part of our chart. And Mars in Gemini is kind of bringing its energy to the themes of themes that are associated with Gemini: communication, connecting with others, right? So perhaps there's a lot of emphasis on connecting with others with this moon. Perhaps there's a lot of emphasis on communicating and, putting in your energy in that area as well, because it's Gemini. And why I bring this up is because Mars is going to retrograde in the sign of Gemini at the end of the year, which means it's going to be in Gemini for a long time, few months. It's not going to move out of Gemini till next year now, right? And what that means is that whatever we put our energy to now, wherever we put our energy in our lives, right, it's going to be different for everybody. Wherever we put most of that energy, look for Gemini in your chart if you know your chart. These are the themes that will come up for review towards the end of the year. So I just thought I'd mention that real quick. That's the first aspect this moon is making, right? Now let's move on to the next important thing. Now this is technically not aspecting the moon as such, but it's happening. And what's happening is that Venus here is opposing Saturn, right? Venus, that's Venus. And it is, why isn't it moving? It's opposing Saturn. That's Saturn. An opposition is a 180-degree angle, right? And Venus is the planet of our relationships, finances, our appearances, our self-worth, values. All these things fall under Venus. And Saturn is a decision maker, right? Saturn is the one who takes those tough calls, right? Saturn is the one who says commit. Decide and commit. It's the one that comes into a space and says, no, this is not in order. We need to fix it. Right, so that's Saturn. But Saturn energy can feel harsh, right? It can feel like this energy that does not care about how you're feeling. It's only concerned with the decisions, the commitments, the work, right? That's Saturn. So this is another stressful aspect that's going on this moon, and what this can bring is decisions and commitments, right, to something associated with our relationships or projects or self-worth or values or skills or even appearances, right? It's saying if you've been on the fence about something, now is the time to decide. And the theme of decisions is very amplified right now. Why is it amplified? It's amplified because the last moon that we had, the full moon in Aquarius, was right next to Saturn. It was this decision point, right? And decision point to step into something new and leave behind something old. And I say that because I will tie in all this together in a little while, but I say that because on 31st July, Uranus and the North Node conjuncted and Mars was with them. And backtracking a little bit, Uranus and the North Node conjunct almost once in 15 years or so. The last time they met up was in 2007. So after 15 years, Uranus and Rahu, the North Node, they met up. And what this energy brings is immense change, right? Immense change quite suddenly, quite unexpectedly. But since it's a slow cycle, 15 years, give or take, it takes time to kind of be more visible. So on 31st July, which is what, 3 weeks now, new energy entered our lives, which demanded us to change something, which demanded us to break free from something that was holding us back, right? And then on August 11th or 12th, right, depending on your location, the date could have varied, we had the full moon in Aquarius, which was this decision point saying, okay, you know what, there's this new energy that's entered our lives on 31st July, which is about the new, which is about change, which is about breaking free, which is about liberation, but decide whether you want to step into it, right? Saturn was asking that decision of us. So around that full moon, we might have decided something, it need not be very external. It could be an internal decision where you say, I'm willing to let go of this. I'm willing to step into the new. Because a lot of the times what happens is, even if there is something in our lives that's not serving us, right? Even if there's something in our lives that's done with, it's not serving us, and it's not even good for us, right? And we know that we need to break out of it. Sometimes there's resistance, right? That's happened to me, so I know that. And what that moon brought was this decision of, no, there should not be resistance. Decide this way or that way. So that's why I say the theme of decision making has been very strong in the past 2-3 weeks or so. And this moon is asking us to decide something more, right? It's asking us to decide something more connected to relationships, connected to our projects, self-worth, values, and skills. And this could be the next progression in the decision-making process that started with the full moon in Aquarius on 11th of August, right? So that's also happening. So in other words, it's not only about taking action, it's also about deciding and structuring things in our lives, this new moon. Now, the next thing I want to show you guys is, I'll show you. Okay, let me see if I've missed out on anything. Yeah, I just want to mention one more thing about Venus, is that Venus right here this week, right, the previous week, it squared this energy, 90-degree angle. And Uranus is the planet, okay. That's Uranus and that's the North Node, right? Uranus and the North Node. And Uranus brings change, sudden change, unexpected change. And it's sitting right next to Rahu, the North Node. Magnified change. Rahu magnifies things. Rahu is the future, right? It's a very futuristic energy as well. In Vedic astrology, it's got this energy which is about being very futuristic, being very new age. It's in many ways, it's very similar to Uranus in Vedic astrology. It's also not completely similar, but it has similar properties like Uranus, but it's a magnifier. So whatever this change is, it's for the future, it's sudden, it's unexpected, and it's big, right? And Venus squared this the previous week, coming into this full new moon, sorry. And what this means is that Venus, we had to maybe, adjust our relationships, projects, self-worth, values, skills, appearances to align with these new changes that are happening. And perhaps with this new moon, that decision will start to happen. And keep in mind, this is the beginning of the lunar month, right? So we'll feel this most acutely on the new moon, but we're going to work on this, right? We are going to take some time maybe to decide these things. So that's another thing I wanted to mention. And to sum it up so far, I would say that since Venus squared this, made a 90-degree angle, there was some change brewing, maybe connected to relationships, projects, self-worth, values, and skills. And with this new moon, that decision, that pressure to decide about those changes has come about, or is coming about. And we must act. We must act on this new moon. Holding back, not doing anything, not embracing the change, not going with the change, will leave us frustrated and angry. So that's what I wanted to mention. And okay, one more thing. Sorry about that. I keep going back to Venus, and let me show you something else. So actually, I did mention it, but there's one more point I want to talk about. Since Venus squared this energy during the week, it also squared the South Node, right? So what we might be feeling is something that's destined, right? The nodes, the North Node here and the South Node here, these are karmic points, right? They're the nodes of the moon, and they are very, very karmic points. They're destined points. They bring events that are fated and destined to happen, right? And the changes we might be going through might have this feeling of feeling a little out of our control, right? Feeling a little destined, feeling a little fated. And this week, as Venus squares the nodes and Uranus, right? The changes that might be coming about to relationships, projects, self-worth, value, skills, appearances might have this feeling of being destined, of being fated, of coming in out of nowhere, as if it's destiny that's coming your way, right? Because the nodes are karmic, the nodes are destiny points, you can say. And yeah, that's I'm not going to talk about Venus anymore, right? I'm not going to talk about Venus anymore. I did mention the Uranus North Node conjunction, so I have that covered as well. So that's this moon in a nutshell, right? About maybe some decisions that are pending, although we've been deciding since the full moon in Aquarius on August 11th. Perhaps some more changes coming about, and time to act. With the square to Mars, it's time to act. And one more thing that I want to mention is that if you look at the chart right now, right, Saturn here has started squaring Uranus. The Uranus-Saturn square is active again. Right now, if you don't know about this, I'm going to talk about this a little bit. So Saturn and Uranus have been making a 90-degree angle since 2021, right? All of 2021, we were in this configuration of Saturn and Uranus making a 90-degree angle. And to put things in context, it's not an energy that we feel very often, right? Last time they made this angle, a 90-degree configuration, was back in the year 2000. So after almost 20 years, we felt this energy again in 2021. And Saturn here is the traditional. Saturn is the one that restricts and limits and controls, right? It's got positive manifestations as well. It's the one that can help us decide. It's the one that can help us streamline things in our lives. It's the one that can help us structure. It is the ruler of this material world, right? So every planet has a positive and a negative, but Saturn is this energy that's about, the old. What is built, what's already built, it's about that. And Uranus, on the other hand, it's about the new, right? It's about what can we build. Right, the old is done with. What's the new? So there's been this tug of war, this friction, this pressure building up between the old structures and the new ways, right? So there's been this push and pull energy of the past and the future. Will I go back to the past? Will I go back to my comfort? Will I go back to the traditional, the structures that have already been built? Or will I break free? Right? Uranus is also our uniqueness. It's also our authenticity. So all through 2021, there was this friction, pressure of the battle between who I think I should be and who I actually am, right? And there's a difference between those two things. Often the idea of who we think we should be is a mental construct, right? I should be like this. This is the ideal way to be. Whereas Uranus is not a mental construct, right? It's truly who you actually are. So there's been this tug of war between that as well. And now it's active again. It's active because Saturn is at 20, Uranus is at 18. They're really close. Again, the question of or the pressure of breaking free from the old, stepping into the new is there. Again, the pressure of embracing your uniqueness, embracing your authenticity, not caring too much about what the world says, what people say, but being you is again there, right? It had eased off. And on a larger scale, this energy can feel restrictive because Saturn right now is very strong. Saturn is in Aquarius, right? And it used to rule Aquarius. It is very strong in Aquarius. Uranus, on the other hand, is in Taurus, not very strong. So the pressure or the hold of the past is strong, right? At the same time, we must learn to embrace the changes that are coming. So it's that sort of energy. And on a larger scale, this energy can feel restrictive. This energy can feel limiting. This energy can feel like, there are a lot of restrictions because Saturn here is not just squaring Uranus. Since April, it's been in a square with the nodes, right? Any planet in a square with the nodes is magnified. In this case, it's Saturn, and Saturn is very strong right now. So that feeling of feeling a little restricted, a little limited, a little things out of our control. Saturn is also karmic, right? That energy is still there and it's building. It's going to be with us till October. And after October, these two planets are going to stop making their 90-degree angle. So that's when the restrictions maybe that we are feeling can ease off a little. But what we need to do with this energy is, or how we need to manage this, is by being open to change, by being open to who you are, right? Your true self, and not falling for the idea of who you think you should be. It's about just being you, right? So that's how to handle this. And I think I have covered pretty much everything. And before we move on to the sun signs, let me see if I missed out on anything. Let me just give me a second. Okay, yeah, I think I'm going to mention this. I don't know if it'll be relevant, but okay. Yeah, so this is happening in the sign of Virgo in Western astrology, right? But in Vedic, this is happening in the sign of Leo. Now, the difference, one of the differences between Vedic and Western is where the energies are happening, right? And the difference, so to speak, is 24 degrees, right? So Vedic is 24 degrees behind. And what I mean by that is, if energies are in Virgo, 0 Virgo, for example, energies in Vedic will still be in Leo. So that's one difference. That's why in Vedic astrology, this moon is happening in the sign of Leo. But Vedic astrology also has what are known as nakshatras, or lunar mansions, right? And each lunar mansion has its own significance, own meaning, even its own ruler, much like the sun signs. So this one in Vedic is in the sign of Leo, but it's in the nakshatra of Magha, right? And Magha is this nakshatra that is associated with royalty. Generally speaking, Leo is the sign of royalty, but Magha especially is the one that's the king, right? It's the kingdom. It's the most royal one. But if we look deeper at what that means, it also means that it's about being in your true power, right? It's about listening to your inner voice, your inner authority, right? Because that's when we can truly be the ruler, you can say, in our own lives, right? So Magha is all about this energy that's, portrayed as a kingdom, a spirit, as, ruling a kingdom. But if we look deeper, it's more about the kingdom inside us, right? Ruling ourselves, having control over ourselves, having authority over ourselves, and not in a negative way, in a positive way, where we feel like, I'm this and I'm proud of it, right? A king always feels proud, usually. So it's embracing that royal energy, that royal feeling, that king-like energy that's within all of us. And Magha, yes, is the kingdom, but Magha is also the spiritual kingdom, right? And again, that boils down to having this authority over ourselves, right? Having this authority to kind of stand in our power, so to speak. And a king has complete control, right? A king has complete control of the kingdom. But if you look deeper, in this case, we have to have complete control over ourselves, right? Complete control over ourselves to be able to take action, to be able to decide, to be able to move forward. So I just thought that's interesting. And the ruler of Magha is Ketu, the south node, right? Because I just mentioned that each nakshatra has its own ruler, and this one is, the ruler of this one is Ketu. And Ketu right now is sitting in the nakshatra of Vishaka, right? Vishaka is the nakshatra of, our paths splitting, to a fork in the road, a decision point, so to speak. And if you've been watching me regularly, since the eclipses, we've been in that fork in the road, which is becoming more and more clear now. But what this means to me is, again, that there's this decision that's pending, a fork in the road. Even if we look at the South Node's placement, Ketu's placement in Vedic astrology, And Rahu, the North Node, is sitting in Bharni. Bharni is the nakshatra associated with renewal, right? It's associated with destruction for the sake of creation. So if you look at these themes, right, it's about maybe ending something old, destruction for the sake of creation, maybe a decision that needs to be taken in that regard, so that we can find our inner authority, right? So that we can be that king in our own lives, so that we can have complete control over ourselves. Magha is also about that. It's about being in charge of a spiritual kingdom, right? And what that means is we can be totally in control of our spiritual kingdom if we have control over ourselves. And I don't mean this in a negative way, I mean this in the most positive way, where we are truly living in our true nature and we can embrace that spiritual nature, right? So I just thought I'd share that because I found it interesting. But to sum it up, this moon is about making things happen. It's about taking action. It's about change. It's about changing how you take action. Maybe it's also an energy that can ask us to decide more things that we have been in the process of deciding. And it can also be this decision that comes after, this whole entire week, which has been about changes to relationships, projects, self-worth, values, and skills. So taking action, maybe certain decisions, maybe adjusting to the new energies that have been with us for the past 3 weeks or so. And now I am going to get into the signs and where this moon might be for you. But keep in mind, the best thing is to look at your personal chart and know which house this moon is falling in, because I won't get into why, but that's the best way. But now I'm going to start with where this moon might be for your sun or rising sign. So for Aries, this new moon is falling in your 6th house. Virgo is your 6th house, and the 6th house is to do with your health, job, diet, lifestyle, routine, exercise, right? So new energy in these areas. Maybe you start a new habit, maybe you start a new diet, maybe you start a new exercise routine, maybe you change up your schedule, maybe you start something new in your job, the work that you do. Right, so that's for you, Aries. Now for Taurus. So for you, Taurus, this moon is in your 5th house, right? The 5th house is the house of children and creativity and love and romance and hobbies and fun and pleasure, right? So new energy here for you, maybe something new to do with your children, maybe something new to do with love and romance, maybe something new to do with a hobby that you have, or just having fun in general. Moving on to Gemini. Gemini, Virgo is your 4th house. New energy coming into matters of home, family, closest friends, your deepest emotions, could be a property matter as well, right? So maybe some new energy when it comes to how you feel or how you connect with your family or a family matter, things like that. Moving on to Cancer. Cancer, Virgo is your 3rd house. So new energy coming into matters of communication and matters of thinking, maybe your mind, right? Maybe a new way of thinking. The 3rd house is also to do with marketing and social media. So maybe new energy there for you, Cancer. The 3rd house is also the house of travel, short distance travel, trips. It's the house of your siblings and your immediate environment. So maybe new energy to change up your home, office space, new energy to kind of, connect with your siblings, or you can even take a trip with this new moon in Virgo. Now, Leo, for you, Virgo is your 2nd house, right? The 2nd house is to do with financial matters. It's the material possessions that you have. It's also the house of your skills, self-worth, and values. So new energy in this area for you. Maybe new avenues of earning money, maybe new ways of acquiring wealth, or maybe new skills that you want to learn, or maybe a new way of how you feel about yourself, your self-worth, or new values coming in for you, Leo. Virgo, this one's a big one for you. This is in your 1st house. It's all about you. New energy to do with you, your identity, your appearance, how the world sees you, how you present yourself to the world. Now Libra, for you this is in your 12th house. The 12th house is to do with closing out the past. It's your subconscious mind, it's spiritual things, it's creative things, yoga, meditation, all that sort of stuff is the 12th house. If drugs, delusions, addictions, depression apply to you, then those are 12th house matters as well. So new energy in this area for you. Maybe you start a new spiritual practice, maybe you become more creative, maybe this new energy helps you close out the past from your subconscious in a certain way. And if drugs, delusions, addictions, depression apply to you, then something new in that regard for you. Moving on to Scorpio. Scorpio, Virgo is your 11th house, right? The 11th house is the house of being social. It's the house of the networks that you have. It's also the house of hopes, goals, and dreams. So new energy here for you. Maybe you're being more social now, maybe a new network that you're coming into contact with, or maybe, new goals, new dreams, new hopes for the future, Scorpio. Moving on to Sag. Sag, Virgo is your 10th house. New energy coming into your house of business and career, right? Maybe you start a new business venture. Maybe you approach a new way of doing something in your business and career. So a lot of focus in that area for you, Sag. Capricorn, Virgo is your 9th house. So new energy is coming into matters of the 9th house. 9th house is to do with foreign travel, connecting with foreign cultures. It's to do with higher education and learning. It's also the house of philosophy and wisdom and knowledge. So new energy here for you. Maybe you start learning something new. Maybe you start connecting with different cultures. Maybe you start planning a trip, right? Or, maybe you start questioning the meaning of life or have some philosophical questions. Or maybe you read some books that address these things, right? So that's for you, Capricorn. Now moving on to Aquarius. Aquarius, Virgo is your 8th house. The 8th house is the house of overall transformation. Sorry about that. It's also the house of the occult. It's the house of the hidden. It's the house of your psychological makeup as well as intimate relationships. So new energy here for you. Maybe new energy helping you think in a different way, maybe new energy helping you transform and change, maybe new energy helping you connect at a deeper, intimate level with somebody, or new energy that's saying, hey, this is not the intimate relationship for you. So that's for you, Aquarius. Now moving on to Pisces. Pisces, Virgo is your 7th house. New energy coming into your house of marriage and business partners and legal issues and legal relationships, right? Any legal relationship you have, business partner, mother-in-law, spouse, father-in-law, that sort of thing. So new energy here for you. Maybe you adopt a new approach in your marriage. Maybe energy for marriage coming in for you. Maybe you adopt a new dynamic with your business partner or any other legal relationship, or if there's a legal issue that's going on, maybe some new developments there for you, Pisces. So that's the moon in a nutshell. It's all about taking action. It's all about, embracing the change that has set in, that has started, and being willing to let go of the old and stepping into the new. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will keep you updated on the changes that are coming up in the next few weeks. I will also be posting the new moon horoscope and the full moon horoscope on my YouTube channel, so you can watch those if you are interested. Have a great new moon in Virgo, and I will see you next time. Bye.